Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Wandering Road podcast. I'm your host, Chris. No Dean today. He has some prior obligation. But joining us for today's show is the host of the Jaunty Haunts podcast, Courtney. Welcome to the show, Courtney.
Hey, Chris. Thank you so much for having me. Hey, listeners. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, Yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to come on. I know we've been going a little back and forth, having to reschedule, but we're finally here and we're finally
I
able
know
to
we made
talk.
it.
I
We
know.
made it through the COVID and then the camping in the middle of nowhere. So thank you for your patience.
Oh, absolutely. I get it. So, Courtney, let's jump right into it. Let's start
Great.
with how you got started with your podcast, Jaunty Haunts, and tell us a little bit about what you do over there.
And I'm Courtney. I am the creator and host of Jaunty Haunts podcast. Basically, the show, I started it in October of last year. And I just kind of wanted to make a place where we can all my tagline is like, we can all feel a little less crazy together. Like, let's talk about the weird things that we've seen or experienced or felt. And it's just a super cozy, comfy, non-judgmental space where I do a Casper rating. So based on how many Caspers, it'll tell you kind of how scary it is. So if you're just there for a little comedy, a little fun, a little bit of, ethereal, weird, vibey stories, then like great. You listen to a Casper rating of 1 or 2. If you want to hear the demon episodes, that's a Casper rating of, between 6 to 10. So you can kind of gauge on what kind of experience that you're looking for. That I interview, friends, family, specialists, cryptozoologists, ghost hunters, most recently a demon hunter, Reiki practitioners, anyone in sort of the spiritual paranormal space to kind of hear what they believe, so we can all kind of get some more answers. And it's been really fun so far.
Yeah, I would say that's the same case for us. It's very much the goal of creating a platform. I always say this that you're not going to be judged and to let people know that you're not crazy and that
Hmm.
other people have had these experiences.
Yes.
So, why don't you go into how you got into the paranormal?
Sure. Yeah. So I think kind of my first story, which if you listen to the show on episode 1, I talk about, but I was like that creepy kid in the horror movie that would be like in the corner pointing like, "Mommy, see her? See her, mommy?" And my mom would be like, "Oh, what the fuck?" Oh, sorry. Can I curse?
Oh, you could curse all the fuck you want.
Okay, just wanna be sure. But she'd be like, "Oh my god, like, what the fuck is she doing? It's so scary." Like, she's in her crib talking on and on and on to this person who was, like, a woman who lived in the house we rented. My mom had me pretty young. She was, like, 19, single mom, and so we had some roommates at the time who were also between, 19, 20, 21. And there was just this, little old lady ghost who haunted the house, and, she would just kind of appear in the hallway behind people when, like, they were watching movies. She, one of the coolest stories, one of the women was in college, and she had a big exam the next day, and this was the '90s. We didn't have, like, iPhones, so it was, like, one of the analog alarm clocks, and she set it for 7 p.m. instead of 7 a.m., and at, like, 7:02, the roommate felt a cold hand on her head waking her up so she could go to her exam on time, and she, like, looked up and saw, like, this a silhouette of a lady. I would just constantly be like, see her," and be talking to her, and I, like, literally have just the vaguest memories of, like, this sort of, translucent-ish woman, like a person just with the opacity turned down, and, she had, like, little glasses, and her hair was kind of in a bun, and she had, like, a longer skirt with a button-up shirt, and I just remember her going, like, making little faces at me like this in my crib, and I would laugh and chat on. So that was kind of the start of the paranormal journey, which I didn't know was something different or strange or paranormal. And then through the podcast, having to really sift through memories and discover, like, okay, what was the first time I actually like remember seeing a ghost and feeling different? It's so weird talking about these stories too. Can I just say, like, because I'm in my hometown and I haven't talked about these like in the neighborhood I grew up in. It's kind of like a little woo woo right now. It's like,
Like
ooh,
like they're gonna start flocking to you. Don't
yes,
tell the
literally.
stories.
Yes, honestly, I'm like, "Oh, this feels kinda funky," energetically, But no, like we were at the town grocery store, and there was like this man who was like super tall, older. He had like, a trucker hat on and like a plaid, like heavy jacket, and he was just staring at me like wide-eyed, like really creepy staring at me. And I was like, "Mom, that man is staring at me." I think I was in kindergarten. I was like 5 or 6. And she was like, "What man?" I was like, "That man." She's like, what man?" Like she literally did not see him. And that's the first time I remember feeling like, "Wait, how come no one else is seeing him, but I'm seeing him and he's like staring at me like that?" And he was only like 5 feet away. So it's like she would have seen him. And then, yeah, throughout the years, just sort of seeing different, human-like spirits, more shadow figure spirits. We lived in one house that was very haunted with like a lot of more darker, kind of shadowy silhouette spirits. They would keep me up at night. And anyway, I always say, take what you will. I know how crazy I sound, but I kept it a secret for a long time. I didn't tell any friends, family, anyone. Like only my closest friends and family knew. And finally, I just was like, every time I meet a new group of people, and like this always comes up at some point, right? Like, "Ooh, anyone have any spooky stories? Anyone have any this or that?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I have one." And then I would tell them, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's like intense." Like, it's like,
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, is it? I guess," And so I was like, let's just, I'm sick of feeling so crazy. I know there have to be other people out there who, if not like all the time are seeing things, have like at least once in their life experienced something. So like it's selfishly a cool way to just like meet other people so I feel less crazy,
Oh, definitely. I get the feeling 100%. Like you share a story, your most intense story, and to us, it's like, oh, it happened.
Mhm.
It's funny to me now,
Mhm.
but I mean, like, whatever, I'll deal with it. It's not that big of a deal. And then you have other people, they're like you said, they're just wide eyed, like, did that
Yeah.
really happen? Like, how are you so calm? And it's one of those things where, what can I do about it now? I can't
Right.
really complain about it. I can't really be afraid unless I'm gonna go back to that location. So it's
Yes.
really interesting to gauge the reactions of people.
Yes, absolutely.
So, because I'm a sucker for dark stories, you
Mhm.
mentioned the house that was really haunted and some dark, shadowy figures haunting there. You mind going into that?
Yeah, I mean, I have quite a few like super scary ones. I will say that one feels less interesting just because I mean, I'll tell you a good one, but that was more just like, I don't know what it was, to be honest. That house was in very deep woods. It was in an area of South Lake Tahoe, called North Upper Truckee, which is like very much in the foothills of the mountains. So I don't know if they were more like nature spirits or strange lingering energy from the previous owners of the home, but I just felt like there were always like 3 or 4 very tall, like hooded figures, and I'd call them like the people with the red eyes. Like I would just see red glowing eyes with these like long shrouded hoods. And it's weird. Like this is where I developed this habit. Like I had to sleep with the TV on all night. I could not be in like darkness. And I just thought I was always making them up, or it was pretend. And I'd tell my parents or my friends, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, you're just playing, pretend. It's just in your head." And who knows, maybe it was a weird, like, trauma coping mechanism. I'm always open to whatever. But the experience was that they were always lingering, and just felt like this weird, watchful eye of, like, that felt negative. I don't know. Anyway, there's not a lot of fun details, but they were just always there. If you want to hear something dark, though, I have a couple options. I most
Both?
recently just
I
what? Both?
said
You want
both?
both?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much time you have. I have like my scariest story. I call it my big bad boy. It feels weird to jump straight into it, but it's a great story, I think. And it's like, a little over 10 minutes. Is that okay?
That's fine. I usually go for, I don't know what your cutoff time is, but I usually go for an hour, hour 15. So,
Okay, that's totally fine. I just
yeah.
also don't want to like yap the whole time
Oh,
straight. So
no,
feel free to
please take as much
chime
time
in
as you
as you
want.
want.
Like, we've had
Okay.
3-hour-long episodes before, so feel free.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, this is fun. This will be fun. My scariest story, quote unquote, or at least the story that scared me the most. My boyfriend of 11 years, like he'll argue with me, like, no, that's not your scariest story, but this is the story that scared me the most. So Um, when I was in college in Southern Oregon, um, at this point, I was a freshman or sophomore in college. I think I was a sophomore. Yeah, I was a sophomore. I was like 19. And I had a very different relationship with the paranormal at this point. I was like just out of being a teenager, and like we were at this age where like, ghost hunters and these shows were very popular, of like being very provoking towards spirits and being like, trying to catch anything you can. And some of my friends and I had decent success getting EVPs from haunted locations and cemeteries and things like that. And so I had this friend in college, and I'll call her Amanda. And Amanda was like, "I just wanna see a ghost. I just wanna experience something, like, please, 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 anything." And I was like, "Okay, okay, we'll go to the graveyard and we will get an EVP." And, my other friend, we'll call him Ryan. Ryan was like, he was sort of woo-woo, sort of connected to stuff too, and he's like, "Let's not go tonight. It's a full moon. There's bad vibes. It's just weird. Like, I don't think we should do this tonight." And I was like, "No, like, shut up. It's gonna be great." So we walked down to the cemetery. And upon arrival, I don't know what was going on, like energetically, planetarily, but like this was a very active night. There was like a little boy spirit kind of at the edge of the cemetery, just like almost like he was like waiting for someone and I was like, "Oh my God." And they were like, "What?" And I was like, nothing, nothing, like it's not a big deal." And they're like, "No, what do you see? What do you see?" I was like, "No, no, it's okay." So I just like I wanted to move on, but I kept feeling him like holding my hand. And it was weird, like, almost like he was scared, like, we'd be walking and I would just feel this sort of, like, close on my hand. And I was like, okay, like, I didn't want that, like, but
He's like,
anyway.
please don't go in.
Yeah, no, yes, thank you, that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like he was almost warning us, like, it was like a warning of, like, "I'm glad you're here," but, like, it also felt like he was like, "Take me out, like, I don't wanna be here," which was really sad. One of the techniques we would use to get EVPs would basically just be like what everyone does. You ask questions, like yes or no questions, simple questions. So we go up to this grave of like a woman spirit, like I think it was like Edith something. And so we're like, "Hi, Edith. Sorry to bother you. We come in respect. Just wanted to know what's your favorite color? What is this? What is that?" Asking a bunch of random questions. And then we just feel this very much like I don't even know, like this feeling, this wave of like a breeze just passes among all three of us that was just so sinister. And it really made our skin crawl. And it almost felt like this like lower hum of the ground, like like I don't even know how to explain it properly. It just felt so rotten. We were like, "Okay, I think we got enough. Like, let's head out." Amanda was like, "Oh no, I want to listen now. Like, let's listen back to the EVPs. I want to hear." I said, "No, let's go back to my house and then we'll listen back to see what we got. Like, we should go." And my friend Ryan, in the meantime, is like pissed. Like, I can just see, like, he's like, "We shouldn't have come here. Something is wrong. Something is off. I told you, like, something's weird." I was like, "Okay, whatever," like trying to act like I knew it all, like everything was fine, being, the young person I was. And so we got to the edge of the cemetery and they said, "You two cross the street. I'll meet you there. I have to like do something." And so I told the little boy, "I'm really sorry. You can't come with me. You have to stay here." And I got super emotional and I was like crying and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like why is this really hitting me?" But I said, "You have to stay here." And he just looked like horrified, like, "Don't go." This crazy. Anyway, we walked back to my house. It was like, 17 minutes. And the whole walk, we're not talking much. It feels weird. I'm just getting over crying. And Amanda's like, "Is everything okay? Why does it feel so weird?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine." So we get back to the house and we start playing back the recordings. We get to this person, Edith, this grave we were at, and we said, like, "Hi, what's your favorite color?" And we hear the faintest, like, "Huh." So we're like, "Oh my gosh, is she saying blue or is it just like anything?" But it was like such a clear female voice that was like, "Oh," you know? And so we got all excited and we were like, "Oh my God, oh my God, we got it." And Amanda was like, "Wow, I heard a ghost. I think that was a ghost. Like it wasn't the wind, da da da." And then, as the questions go on, the moment where we had felt that like very sinister feeling, I say in the recording, "Did you have any children?" And then we just hear, and I'm not kidding, this like fucking nasty, stenchy scream moan thing just cut into the recording and carry through. And then the next thing we hear is Ryan saying, I told you we shouldn't have come here. Something's up. Like, we got to go. Like, something's weird. But we didn't hear that when we were there. But the recording picked up this nasty screaming moan thing. And so I'm so scared. I throw my phone on the couch and I'm like, what the fuck was that? And Amanda's like, what the hell was that? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I'm in over my head. And my friend Ryan goes, I fucking told you I'm leaving. And he left. He was like, I'm out. So I'm there. And then Amanda's there, and Amanda's like, I'm actually really scared. Like, I didn't like that. Like, this is not the experience that I wanted. I'm like, it's totally fine. Like, we'll cleanse everything. We'll do fine, you know. So I got out like lavender and sage and crystals and, you know, raven feathers and everything. Like, I just like got out all my tools that I knew how to use at the time. And I was like, if anything is in here, get out of here, you know, like yelling around my house like an idiot. Didn't, you know, anyway. So Amanda was like, okay, well, I'm going to go home now. And I was like, no, I don't want to be here alone because my roommate at the time was out of town. And she's like, no, that like really scared me. I'm going to leave. So I was there and immediately I just felt someone is here with me. Like, I am certainly not alone here. Every corner in the house just felt occupied, you know? And there were eyes on me, and I just was like, the sinister, like, I don't know, like, it was the first time I had felt something that felt truly like ill intentions, and like I had made a mistake, right? Like, I felt like, oh, I fucked up, but I had no idea how to fix it. The days carry on, and my roommate at the time was a nice but forgetful young man. And so it wasn't uncommon to see things left around the house, messes here and there. But I would come out of my room in the morning and every single cupboard and drawer would be open to the exact same angle.
Ooh.
And I'd get that feeling in my stomach, like that pit. This is not right, but it's probably just him. I did a clearing. I told it to get out. Like, it wouldn't still be here, would it? Like, no. I'm just scared. I'm in my head. And so I would shut everything and I'd like get annoyed. And he was like a math and music double major, and I was a theater major. So we were never home at the same time. Like, truly, it was like this void between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. that we were home at the same time. It just kept happening. I'd get home, everything would be open, everything. And so I texted him one day, hey, can you stop leaving all of the cupboards open? It's kind of getting annoying. And he was like, Courtney, I'm at my boyfriend's house. I've not been home in 3 days. I was like, um, okay, well, I like, and at this point, it's like twice a day I'm closing all the cabinets and everything. So all these little games, and not to mention, I had heard his bedroom door opening and closing while I was sleeping at that time. So I thought for sure he's here, for sure
Holy
he's, you
shit.
know, in the kitchen. His bedroom door was opening and closing. The cupboard doors were opening and closing. I'm hearing footsteps and I was like, stop it. Like, you're messing with me. And he's like, no, like, I've literally been at his house. Like, do I need to come home? Is something going on? And I'm like, no, don't come home. Like, something, you know. So I tell my good friend who was a little bit older than me, who was a witch, he was a practitioner, and he's like, well, you made a mess. Like, you gotta clean it up. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. Like, my gosh, like, you know, I
This is the
didn't know what
part
to
in the
do.
movie where they go to the Catholic church.
Yes, literally, literally. And I'm like, should I go and like get holy water? I was so out of my depth, not to mention I, you know, had a bunch of classes and credits and I was in a show. And so I was like dealing with like all the real life theater major college stuff as well and like doing homework. I have time to be chronically haunted like this.
Right.
But, there was one day that I knew I was going to be. This is kind of like the end of the story, but I was going to be at the school for multiple hours on end, like from, you know, noon to probably 2 a.m. I was going to be at the school because we were in tech for something. So I was like packing a huge meal. I had like pasta and like a salami sandwich and snacks and apples. Like, I was just like making a bunch of food. And I had Billie Holiday playing on my phone on Pandora at the time. And I mentioned my roommate was a math and music major, and we had a Steinway in the living room. Billie Holiday's playing in the kitchen, and then I just hear ding, 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 ding. and I stop my music and I like put it up to my ear and then I'm hearing like ding, 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 boom, 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 boom. My blood runs cold. It's the piano. And so I start walking down the long hall and it's just continuing dong, 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 dong. And I turn the corner and I look and it goes boom, 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 boom. And it's like two hands are slamming down on the keys over and over again. I'm like literally watching the piano playing itself. I have never been more scared in my entire life. I
You're
think
seeing the keys get
the
pushed in.
keys are being pushed down, yeah, and it's, 4 keys on the top, 3 on the bottom, like, switching off, like, there are 2 hands clearly slamming down, and it's not like a song, it's boom, 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 and I was literally in, like, a t-shirt and underwear, like, while I was making all the students, so I grabbed I had my phone in my hand, obviously, as I was coming down the hall, so I had my phone, I run out the front door, I slam the door shut, and I'm, like, weeping, sobbing, and I call my good friend, like I mentioned, who was the witch, and I was like, "The piano's playing itself, the piano's playing itself. Oh my god, what do I do? What do I do?" I'm crying, and he was like, "You," like, he was so mad at me. He's like, "God damn it." He's like, "I'll be right there," so he comes over and he's like, "Get in the car," and he's like, "Where are your pants?" And I'm like, "They're inside. I can't go inside." He's like, "Go get your—" I'm like, I'm not going in the house. I'm not." So he went in and he grabbed me like my pants and my bag. I was like, "Was it still going? Was the piano playing itself?" And he's like, "I don't want to talk about it." Like he refused to tell me what he saw or experienced. He's like, "I don't want to talk about it. We're going." So we drove straight to like one of the, like witch stores in town. There were so many. It's, Southern Oregon. It's like all hippie. And
Right.
so we basically tell the people there what's happening. And, he has his own thing of everything that he knows how to do. So we're getting like a bunch more specific crystals, incense, specific totem, whatever, all these things, salts, black salts, all this stuff. And we headed back to the house and he was like, "Okay, like you're going to help me." And, again, I was really young. I'm 31 now for the listeners. I was 19. Like I was a baby. Like I'm not like this anymore. But he was like, "Come on, this is your mess. Like you need to clean it up." So I was like, "Okay." So we go in and, it's just very solemn and it's very serious. And we're, praying and saging and just sprinkling salt and doing our best to like banish, and like it feels so heavy and the house is so smoky. We literally had to unplug the fire alarms to just keep everything clearing out. And we finished everything. And my friend looked at me and he's like, "Okay, it's done. Don't go in the house for 20 minutes and then go in and it should be fine." And then he left. And I'll say after that, the piano never played itself again. And the cupboards were not opening and closing. But I never felt safe or alone in that house ever again. Whatever was lingering at that cemetery was waiting to latch on to something or someone. And I was so happy to leave that house when I left. And I still feel so immensely guilty and mad at myself for doing what I did. But, a lesson well learned. That was one of my scariest stories.
Okay, you made me get my crucifix and my holy water
Oh my
spray.
gosh, you have your cross out.
No, I mean, I will say the entire time you're telling that story, I had like goosebumps and shivers. And
Oh
I
yeah.
had this urge to look at my doorway, but I didn't want to. So I can't see things, but I
Yes.
can definitely feel when,
Mhm.
something is kind of off.
Yes.
And I always say this, and for the listeners, I'm sorry if this gets old. These things know when you talk about them.
Mhm.
Just listening to it just felt like some type of energy where it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
it's very unsettling.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's still
I have this
mm.
thing where I could play you're telling a story, I play it like a movie in my head. So for me, it amplifies the creepy factor. But million and one questions just flooding
Yeah,
through my
go
mind
for
right
it.
now. The
Please.
first thing I want to ask is, did you ever see what it was?
So the only thing I ever saw, like with my eyes or like my mind's eye, like in a visual, way, because so much of it was residual hauntings of it moving things when I wasn't there and then like interacting with it, and a lot of auditory, like, the footsteps and everything. But the only thing I saw was, I'm a big napper and I would fall asleep on the couch in the living room. And there was always like one, ooh, now I'm getting chills. There's only one specific corner where I would always see it, and it was similar, like, just like so tall, almost to the ceiling, just like
Okay.
a very long, dark figure, almost looked like, again, like a cape or like a robe, just like it. All I could see was just like shrouds of darkness, and
Okay.
the head or the hood, whatever this thing sort of was, kind of like looked like a triangle, like kind of went to this triangle or hood-like pointy formation. That was the only thing I would see, and it was, like, literally in a split second between, like, wake and sleep, or I'd feel it almost, like, to the point it would wake me up from a nap because 'cause I'd be like, "Something's looking at you, something's looking at you, something's looking," and then I'd wake up and it would be gone. Like, I would wake up and see it, and in, like, the minute I'm, like, back to consciousness, it would be gone. It was very much, is it my own, like, personifying it, giving it something, or is it me getting a glimpse of it between sleep and wake? I don't know. That was something that never felt concrete as, like, other spirits that I see more regularly, because it was just like this sort of, cone of horror and darkness in the corner.
Right. I think I'm not one to say it's label anything as demonic like
Right.
immediately,
I always say that
but
too. I hate to use the D word.
yeah, but I feel like in that instance, the fact that you get to the cemetery, you clearly see a little boy, the spirit of a
Mhm.
little boy. But whatever the fuck this thing is, has enough power or energy to choose when it wants to fuck with you, when it
Mhm.
wants you to see it,
Yeah.
and it's just a lingering feeling of dread and darkness. Either it was like lady's pissed
Oh
off
my
spirit.
god. Wait, you know what else that I
Huh.
can't believe it's taken me over 10 years to, like, realize right now in this moment? I'm reading this book about this. That's such a common thing for demons to present as children. Wait,
Was it
holy
a child
shit!
spirit?
Yeah, I don't think it was a little boy. Oh my god, wait, I can't believe I'm realizing this right now. And remember, it kept holding my hand and trying to come with me, and I was like, "No, you have to stay here," and I literally got so emotional, I was crying. I'm
Right,
sure that's when that thing latched onto you, because that's when it's like, in moments of vulnerability, fear, weakness, that's when those things will attach, or take, hold of you.
right.
That's actually insane. Oh my god, I think now I'm wow, sorry, I'm having a big breakthrough on your podcast
Oh,
right
no,
now, but
you're
I
good, you're
really feel
good.
like that. I think that's what that was. I don't think that was a little boy who was there. I think that was something darker pretending to be something else, which is
That's
actually
such a common
insane.
theme, such a common
Holy
theme,
crap.
because I'll share this for your listeners when I come on your show, but
Yeah.
my sister in the house we grew up in had a notorious friend named Andy. It was a little boy in, like, a 1920s sailor suit.
Oh, no, not the sailors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bound to the house.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. So I was thinking maybe that lady's grave was maybe she was a bad person, but now that you make the correlation between the child,
Yeah.
because I'm thinking
Well,
maybe like the other option would be the lady got pissed off because you asked about kids and maybe she wanted kids and she never had a
oh,
chance
that's
to have
interesting.
them
Yeah,
with
that's an
that whale.
interesting
Yeah.
hypothesis. Yeah. I will say, wow, that is interesting. It's funny because like this is so woo. I think also because I'm like home and I'm like not in like work mode. I'm very much like my inhibitions are off. So I know I'm going to sound extra crazy in this episode, but whatever. It's just what I'm feeling. But like my spirit team and like the stuff I get, like my gut feelings and everything, it's sort of more like, no, like I still feel like that woman's spirit was more scared and more trapped and kind of being
Oh,
overpowered by whatever that first thing was, what the dark thing was, especially because while we passed her, I've noticed some spirits who are at rest, at peace, or excited for human interaction. Sometimes I'll get almost like more sensory stuff. And I did get a strong smell of like lilac by her grave, which made
okay.
me feel she was there and she was maybe doing her best to be at peace or communicate, but she certainly didn't like, or whatever, everything else that was there did not like whatever this dark thing was, of course. But
You didn't smell sulfur with the little kid, did you?
no, I didn't. No, I feel like I would have gotten that so much sooner if I had had more of like a scent attached to him. That's so funny. Yeah.
Or was there, like, any type of odd scent? A lot of people like to say it's exclusively sulfur, but there's
Yeah.
so many ranges of smells. Like you could smell like rotting meat. You could smell sulfur.
Yes.
You
Well,
could
that's what I was
smell
gonna
like shit.
say. Yeah. No, like, our house definitely did, like, smell poorly, and that's why I would get mad because I'm like, what is he doing? Because again, like, and he doesn't listen to these like podcasts. This is not his forte, but he was very privileged. He had very wealthy parents, and like they literally hired a maid to come to clean his room weekly. Like they
Wow.
had money, and I felt very privileged to live in this house because we had a really nice TV and nice furniture, and like I paid a lot in rent at the time. That house was for him, for an income property for them for the future, and like they literally had people so anyway, the point was it wouldn't surprise me if there was a stinky smell and he didn't do anything about it because he wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why, like, when the cupboard doors were open and things were left about, or I'd like smell something rotting, like I did smell rotting stuff that I'd be like, hey, like, can you like, like blah blah blah. And he was like, I'm literally not even home. And that's when I was like, okay, something else is going on, you know?
Right, right. That story is intense. How long did you deal with that? Was it like a week
Oh,
from the
years.
incident? Years.
No, years. Yeah, I mean, literally from that moment on, I was like I kind of went into, like, full shutdown mode, especially because after that year, in school, I transferred to another school, and I was like, "I'm not telling anyone that I see stuff. I want nothing to do with paranormal stuff. I'm focusing solely on being a, performer and an artist and, like, doing this sort of creative stuff, and I don't want to honor or interact with any of that because it scared me so much to my core. I really pushed the boundaries. I acted very immaturely. So I was like, I just wanted to shut it off. But then I
Right,
would have crazy dreams, and it felt like I was like being eaten alive from my own spiritual center, if that makes sense. Like anytime I would see something out of the corner of my eye, or I'd start to like see the outline of a spirit, I would literally do my best to be like, no, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not dealing with this. Like I would like immediately like look at my phone or turn something else on or just like literally totally go into denial mode and be like, nope, there's nothing there. It's just my imagination. This isn't real. I've learned, again, sounds very woo woo, is like, that's not healthy. Like, you have to like deal
right,
with this stuff. You can't just like be like, it's not real. Cause it's like, well, no, you're seeing someone like, or you're experiencing something. There are healthy ways of letting it pass through or move through it. And that's what I'm trying to learn now. But no, I think for truly 4 years or so, I really just tried to shut it all off.
right. I wouldn't blame you for doing that. And it's funny that example that you just gave of you would start to see something and he's like, nope, fuck it. No, no, I
Yeah.
don't want to see it.
Hmm.
That literally happened to my cousin. Like
Really.
when he was young, he would see things. And he said like there was one point where he was like 6 or 7 years old. His parents were arguing pretty bad, and
Hmm.
he saw, like, these, like, swarms of really big black flies just flying
Oh,
around him, and
shit.
he said he ran to his room, and he's like, "I don't wanna see this. I don't want this gift, God. I don't want this anymore," and ever since
Right.
then, he hasn't seen anything, and if I
Really?
start to talk to him about ghost stories, he's like, "Fuck you. I'm not talking about this.
Oh,
You
like
know I
he just
don't
wants
talk,"
to close it off completely.
because he thinks if he starts talking about it, it'll come back.
Yeah, I've heard is true.
Yeah.
And that's what's funny when I meet and now I talk to other people like spiritual healers or mediums or whatever, people who are very connected who also say that they see things. They talk about how they can very freely turn it on and off, which is so interesting to me and is something that maybe I could learn one day. But as I'm fully embracing this now, and the weird sort of mantra that feels comfortable in me is like learning how to like meet the darkness, quote unquote, or meet the other side, just with like patience and empathy and neutrality. That's kind of my new thing. If it's something dark, they like fear. They'll feed off of the fear and they
Right.
want to interact, and like it's a snack for them. It's like yum yum yummy. If it's something good or or sad or like something that like needs help or a lost spirit, I just try not to feed into anything. I think living in New York has taught me that so much of just like mind your business, right? Mind your business, get where you're going. If someone addresses you like, "Hey, where's this place?" You can easily be like, "Oh, it's on, 43rd and 5th or whatever." You're like,
Right.
then you keep moving. As opposed to being like, "Oh, hi, do you need directions? Yeah, let me help you." Like, don't make a big thing of it. This is what we can do, keep it moving. So I'm kind of trying to bring that into like when I meet spirit now of
Right.
like, are they lost? Are they asking for help directly? I told this as well on my show, but the other day I was recording for a podcast. Sorry, I was recording for an episode, and my doors in my bedroom kept opening and closing, and my bathroom doors were rattling and shaking. I was like, God damn it! Because I went to a cemetery that day by World Trade Center. I'm a florist. That's my like normal job. So I was doing a flower event down by One World Trade Center, and there's that the Fulton Street Cemetery right there, like off the 456.
Is that the one that was like the colonial cemetery with the old
Yeah.
church? I know
Yes.
exactly
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about. Awesome.
Yes,
Okay,
I
great.
do.
Yeah, and so I was like, "Oh, this is a really cool cemetery." It was rainy and gloomy but warm, and I was like, "This might be really cool to kind of walk through, like, and just I don't know, like, something was telling me, like, go here, you know?" And so I went to go inside and they do like a bag check because it's New York. They do it's a security check. And I like because I'm a florist, I have a bunch of like sharp like scissors and cutting tools and things for dethorning roses. So I was like, oh, they're not gonna let me in there. So I didn't even try, you know. And I like kind of looked in and I was like, well, I'm just gonna head back. But I did see I was skipping the part where I saw a ghost. I did see like a man, like almost like a colonial looking man, you know.
Yeah. You
And
answered one of my questions because I was gonna
yeah,
ask you like, if you walked by that place and saw anything from that
it's
cemetery. I like walking around there and like you see
uh-huh.
some of the slabs, they're like cracked, and then you see like the
Yes.
dates from like the
Uh-huh.
1600s and the 1700s.
1600s, yeah.
It's freaking insane.
It's insane, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, I just saw that one man very clearly, and he was looking at me again, like, it's so weird how ghosts always do this, like, wide-eyed thing. I'm like, is it just because they see that I can see them? I don't know why, but it's always like this, like, "Oh, oh, no," this look. But, yeah, he was looking at me, and I think that's part of why I was like, "Well, maybe I should go in. Maybe he needs help," I don't know, and ultimately I was like, I'll come back another day. That was my thing, was like, I'll come back another day now that I know that this is here. So I left and I felt like there was something with me. Well, I didn't go inside the cemetery. There can't be anything with me. And I had always been taught, like with like, witchcraft and lore, that spirits can't cross a wrought iron gate. Like that's like a thing that like binds them there. So I wasn't worried about it. But I got home,
That
the
explains
energy.
cemetery gate designs.
Yeah. Right.
Okay,
Hmm.
yeah, and I get it.
Yeah. Anyway, I got home and the vibes were off, but it was also like a weird day. And then, my partner was like kind of in a funky mood, and he's like, "I'm gonna go to the gym." I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna, edit." I started working on the podcast, and the bedroom and the bathroom door were both like like going, opening, and closing, and shaking. And I was like, "God damn it!" So I like had to like get up, and I was like, "If anything is here, like you can't be here. Get out." Da, 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 da. And it just still felt kind of funky. And I'm like, I didn't even go in all the way. Like, how is this happening? And my boyfriend came back from the gym and I sat on the couch with him and he's like, "Did you like burn something in here?" I was like, "Yeah, I felt like there was a ghost." And I look and he goes, "There's something over there, isn't it? Like I can feel it." And I was like, "Oh my, yeah, there is." And it was the man I saw at the cemetery just standing in the hallway, like looking like
Hello.
super lost and super confused. And I was like, all right, like I'm gonna intentionally tell him like you need to go to the light, you need to follow whatever, and I told my boyfriend to do the same. I was like, can you just like say a prayer or something for him? And it was really cool. I mean, almost within like 3 minutes, I could see him kind of like turn around towards our front door and walk out.
Maybe he needed help and he's like, "Okay, maybe she'll help me." That type
Yeah,
of
I think
situation.
so. Yeah, yeah. Because I will say as he was walking, I did see almost like a kind of like sunlight coming through a window, like, all that, like, he was walking in towards. So, I mean, it looked like he had been there for like 300 years or something, so I hope he, finally got out of there.
It's like being stranded on an island. He's like, "Shit,
Yeah.
help. You can see
Yeah,
me."
literally.
Oh, I'll never view that place the same again.
It's so cool talking to someone who's like from New York though, like these places I'm talking about. I know we can talk about it when you come on my show, but are there any other specific places to New York or the city or the state that you find very haunted or fun that you've visited or heard about?
Well, in Queens, if you take the A train to Rockaway Boulevard and
Hmm.
you get off that stop, and when you get off, you keep walking down Rockaway Boulevard. If you've ever been to Queens on the A train, like when it's going through, you'll see on the right hand side going into Queens this big ass cemetery. It's
Wow.
massive. Like anytime I walked by it when I was in middle school or high school, just creepy vibes. It's
Yeah.
like it's between like 95th Street and it goes all the way towards at least 80th Street.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's intense. So like
Those
if you ever get a
yeah.
chance to walk by there, like see if you see anything.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, right, when you get into like, Queens and Brooklyn, how massive the cemeteries are because there's just not room for that in Manhattan. And that's like one of my little like side things, Jaunty Haunts New York City I do. It's like videos of like, here's where I've seen a ghost and what it was doing. And I haven't done it yet, but one of the places is 14th Street, like, Union Station
Yep.
on like 3rd and 14th. And it's so haunted, and I never realized why, and I did some digging into it, and it used to be like a mass grave where like they just put people that they didn't know like where to put. And to build that train station they had to unearth like multiple graves, like hundreds, like 300 graves and dead bodies to build that
On
underground
14th
subway
Street.
station on
Are you
14th Street. Yeah.
holy shit. We're talking
Yeah.
like colonial times, right? Mass
Mhm.
grave.
Yeah.
Oh my
Mhm.
god, it was probably a
Yeah.
pauper grave or something.
I know, yeah, and same with Grand Central. To build a bunch of parts of Grand Central Station, they had to unearth, like, hundreds of graves, yeah, and Fifth Ave, though, not Waldorf Astoria, which one? Maybe Waldorf Astoria. One of, like, the big fancy schmancy hotels, they same thing, like, it's, like, famously haunted because they had to just unearth, like, a whole cemetery to build it. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I was in New York when 9/11 happened,
Oh,
and it was a
wow.
whole fucking shit show. Like I still have
Yeah.
I hate when they're like, "Oh, here's like the anniversary," and they show like I don't need to see that video again
Trauma.
because I saw it live. Like,
Oh
can
my
y'all stop
god.
talking about it? But my
Yeah.
question is, have you walked by that area and saw people lost?
Yes, it's part of why I, like, try not to go down there at all, ever at all, and I think it's also why that day that I was down there for that floral event, wow, I'm getting emotional even thinking about it, sorry, that I saw that guy and that he was able to come with me over the cemetery because I was so, like, raw, like, I had been crying so much, like, the first time I ever went down there, we'll start with that, 4 years ago, I was so overcome, I just was, like, instantly sobbing and crying, and I didn't realize, like, where I was. I just got off the station underneath. I, like, could not breathe, and I just kept seeing people running around by me, but I was so, again, woo-woo overcome that I thought they were just people
Right,
running to catch another train. And when I got up to the stop, I, like, looked up and I saw where I was, and I was like, "Oh my god, like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here
right,
right now." I didn't go back down there for a long time, and then I started doing real estate, and my real estate test to, like, get my license was down in that area, so I went, like, fully prepared, I had crystals and stuff on and all kinds of stuff, but, like, nothing prepares you for that. The energy of that place is so palpable. And I actually did, I have like videos on my phone right now. I did like a video and I was trying to figure out how to, again, because it is sensitive, right? To talk about it and address it without being me, But I have videos of, like the big fountain, like right where it happened. I went there like, a couple weeks ago for the first time. And on the actual place, I don't see human spirits running around lost. It's weird that it was only in the subway. It just feels almost like this zone of it's like when you go to like Gettysburg or like any sort of like
right.
very intense traumatic place where it feels like this zone of I don't know, like you can just feel that the energy is so
Yeah,
palpable,
right.
and there aren't human spirits necessarily consistently running around lost. It's almost just like the grief and the linger of pain is so
Pain.
strong, I think.
Courtney, that
Yes.
first story you shared, fucking terrifying. I don't
Yeah.
it has to be in the top 5 of, like, creepy stories that I've ever heard.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
maybe it's ranked number 1 because, like, with the whole piano stuff, it's
I
horror
know.
movie type shit. But you did also mention you had some additional, like, creepy things that happened to you, if you don't mind going into those as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, truly there's too many to count. That's part of why I started the pod too. So I like each episode I start with a personal story. But yeah, I kind of narrow down to my quote unquote fan favorites. But I'll tell you, especially because you're from New York, a couple of my more of my New York ones that are pretty prominent.
Yeah.
Um,
This show's
I think
Casper meter is gonna be 5, though.
amazing. um, but yeah, so the first time that one of the first like 2 or 3 times I ever took the subway, I was living uptown. I was on 192nd Street, up near Dyckman, and we were going to like a grocery store or something. And again, it was like literally like the second or third time I've ever ridden the subway. And this subway station is 17 floors underground. And the only way to get down to the platform is either by the elevator or to take like a long tunnel walk down. It takes like almost like 4 to 5 minutes to walk the full tunnel. It was in the movie In the Heights, for those of you who are curious about which tunnel it is. Started walking down the platform, and it's New York. There's like music playing, there's babies crying, it's hot, it's August, so it's heavy humidity. Like it's just very overstimulating in general. And then I start hearing a man's voice, ah, ah, like a screaming, like kind of moan of like a man's voice. And I start looking around, and there I see in the tracks is a man who looks like he had been sliced in half. He had like a white button up with a gray, a blazer and like a tie that was kind of ripped up and cut up on the bottom. He was pulling himself like hand, pull, and reaching up and just screaming like, ah. And I thought this was real time, And so I am like, my breath drops out, and I'm like looking around me, and I'm like looking at the man, and I'm like, holy shit. So it's like processing what's happening in real time with the heat, the noise, the babies, everything else, and the fact that no one else is looking or running to him. I'm like, is this just a New York thing? Is this just like a wait, what's happening? What's happening? And my boyfriend turns around and he goes, "Hey, are you okay?" And that's when it hit me like, oh my god, like, this is literally a ghost right now, like, this isn't real, like, in a weird way, it's like, I mean, good, right? Like, good, this isn't really happening in real time, but I saw a man who had been severed by either jumping or being pushed, and he was, like, crawling and reaching up, as like, screaming for help, so that was a really scary one.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, I guess funny and not funny at the same time. You looked around to see people's reaction,
Yeah.
and that that's pretty much a New York thing. I mind my own fucking business type of stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I'd always heard too, and I was so new to the city that I'm like, "Are we really not even gonna help this person? Like, they're gonna die, like, they're dying, like, they have been severed, like, holy fuck."
Yeah.
To then be like, "Oh, okay," that's, like, a lot of my boyfriend and some other people, like, that's, like for them, that's the scariest story, but it's, ultimately, like, he said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah." I turned and we started walking, and we got ultimately to where we were going, and I was just really shaken. And I think he thought it was just riding the subway, like for the first couple times it's like a lot, especially with the heat and everything. And so he's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I was like, "No, here's what I just saw." And he was like, "Oh my god, like, oh my god, are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, but I don't know, like, what do I do?" Another one which is fun, it was just shared on a couple other podcasts too, but this is my building story. The building I live in is over 100 years old. It was built in 1917, as most New York buildings are. It was our first Halloween there. We had lived there like a month and a half. At this point, we had moved down to Midtown because pandemic rates were cheap. I walked in, I was dog walking for money, and I was like sweaty. I had like, dog hair all over me. I was so tired. I just want to get up and have a Gatorade or something. Like, oh my gosh, so hot. And yes, it was Halloween. Autumn doesn't exist in New York anymore. If anyone didn't realize, I want to make that clear as well. And so
It
I
used to be
I
cold.
that's what I've heard. Yeah. So I walked around the corner, and there were these three people like in like the sort of little lobby area. I kind of like did a double take, and there was a man with like a trench coat and like a fedora hat, which he looked very like out of this time, which is why I kind of did a double take. I was like, "Oh, what's going on?" Then there was like a woman with like a walker, like an old lady. And then there was like a mailman, but even he, like his clothing looked like more vintage, like it looked out of time, like almost like 1960s or 70s US Postal Service outfit. And looking at all of them, and I kind of keyed in, I clocked in, and like at the same exact time, all three of them turned their heads and like met eyes with me at the same time. And I was like, oh, okay, okay. And I like ran and I was like pressing the button on the, they're like up, like pressing the button on the elevator. And
New York dogs are
yeah,
like, "Hey, yo, you see this? Like, let's get the
yeah,
fuck out of here."
yeah, literally. Oh my God. And so yeah, so I got upstairs and I told my boyfriend, and we are like, oh my gosh, wow, like how crazy. So then, about a year and a half later, they had done like renovations on our basement. And some of the people who live in the building found a bunch of historical original photos of when the building was built. So I'm looking at all these photos, and there's photos of like, flapper girls like outside and like the park across the street. And then there's a photo of two men. One of them has like a bowler hat and like a coat, and the other one is the exact man that I saw with a trench coat and a fedora on, looking directly into the camera. And this was a year and a half after the original incident happened. And so I told my boyfriend, I was like, "Oh my God, it's the man I saw. He's here. He's like in this photo." So yeah, and he still haunts the basement. He's like the only one I still see.
When you see these spirits, do you kinda see them at their dead state or what they look like when they pass? Or do you kinda see them, "Oh, they look like a regular person?"
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. I see them as they like choose to present. I think that's like something that I can't prove, or I don't know for sure, but I think spirit usually has a way that like represents itself. Luckily, besides the subway guy, I've never seen, let me not say never, let me think. To the best of my knowledge in this moment, I have not seen another spirit that had anything gory or, any huge, like trigger warning type things. Nothing that was very intensely violent. I haven't seen a spirit like that. There was another guy in New York that I did see like that. He had like some sort of blood on his head. But sorry. So really besides New York, I haven't seen spirits like that. No. Usually they choose to show themselves in whatever way that they like. And it's usually a middle-aged version. Rarely do I see children's spirits unless they were children who passed when they were children.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when
Hmm.
you said that when you stayed in that house that was, like, in the woods in California,
Uh-huh.
a little early on, and you kinda saw those shadow figures. Aside from there, have you seen, and obviously that one asshole that followed you home from the cemetery, have you
Yeah.
seen, is that a common thing that you see just, like, in passing? Or have you seen things that are either kinda demonic or malevolent, or what people would call elementals? Because I know when I talk to psychic mediums, they're like, "Oh, I've seen demons and shit, and they look exactly like they're depicted in films and stuff." So,
Yeah.
given the ability that you have, do you just mainly pick up on human spirits, or do you occasionally see things that are, "Okay, that's just fucking crazy"?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it's funny you bring this up now. I just most recently, like I mentioned, I did like a demonology series on my show, and I just finished that. But the very first episode I dropped, like maybe 3 weeks ago, I tell the story of the demon experience that I had. So for your listeners, please go listen to that. It's highly produced. There's sound effects and everything, but I'll give you a little taste of what that was. It was the first like fully fledged demon I've seen, like clear as day. Whereas I think before that, like you mentioned, like elemental spirits or darker things, it did feel more harder to fully see in clarity. Like it was more like a glimpse of something misshapen, or something that felt like, yeah, like a weird creature energy, or like it just looked like I can't really see it for sure. It's almost like you're looking with all the lights off in a room with a candle in the corner. It's like, what is that? Like you don't really know. But this story happened, I think, in February or March. I can't remember the exact time, but it was either like late February or early March. Busy day at work, at the floral shop. I got on the train, and as we all know, or as you certainly know, when the train is like half empty and the other side is packed, you usually know you don't want to go on the empty side for a reason, right? I was like, well, I'm really tired. I've had a long day at work. I don't care. Like, I'm not going to wait for another train. I'm getting on. And so I got on and I stood as close to the people that I could. But then I like see and hear what they're all quote unquote afraid of, or avoiding, shall we say. And it's a man who, is clearly experiencing homelessness, maybe, is dealing with some drug issues, and he, has quite a mess around him, but he is talking very loud, And all the people on the train, and this is New York, like we mind our business. They're all looking at him,
Right.
staring at him. So I'm like, okay, does he have a weapon? What's going on? What's the issue? I have one headphone in and I'm kind of just looking at the ground. And then I hear other people like near him. I hear like, mommy, I don't want to do that. And then a dad voice be like, sweetheart, I told you not to do that. And then like the wife being like, you're too hard on her. Why do you do? I truly thought there was a family behind me that I just didn't see when I came on. And I looked and it was him. He had like five voices coming out of him that sounded completely distinct from each other. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that is not that's not good or cool or fun. Basically, it was the express. I literally had to make it one stop. Like, I was like, "I'm fine. It's like a 12-minute ride. It's gonna be okay." He's making all these voices, he's doing all these things, so I kind of just, like, meander a little further away down the line as I'm, like, holding on to the thing. That's when my woo-woo thing, like, my third eye kind of opens, and I that's when I see it. And it very much is as depicted in picture books or people or the Bible. It was like this 7 foot tall horned creature with like a very masculine male top of his body, and his arms hung very low almost to the ground with long fingernails, and his legs were kind of like goat legs, and the head was a skull, no eyes or skin or flesh, just like a skull of a cow or a goat or something, with like big horns that went up to the sky. And he had all these markings on his arms and chest and upper thighs that looked like they had been carved in and like a little bit bloody. And he just started walking towards me. And as this thing is walking towards me, I hear the man on the train go, ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. He's like doing this like singing laugh thing as this thing is walking towards me. And I know how, like, messed up and scary this sounds, but at this point, like, so much of the work I'm doing spiritually is, like, letting go of fear because, again, that's what they like. And so I was just like, "Oh, no, thank you, not interested." Like, as if somebody's, like, trying to sell you something on the street, like, "Oh, no, no, thanks, I don't want that." And it kind of, like, kept its distance, but to hear the rest of the story, you gotta go listen to Jaunty Haunts, you guys, but that's what I'll give you, that's what I saw.
And that's scary enough for me. Definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
go listen to that because I'm gonna listen to it too.
Yeah, that's the Devil and Demonology Part 1. So that's where the episode is called, guys.
So much to unpack there just about demons in general, and that's
Mhm.
kind of one of my favorite topics, but it scares the crap out of me, so I commend
Right.
you for seeing something like that and not being afraid of it. Like,
Mhm.
that's something I have to train myself to do because
Yeah.
what I experience and I think back on it and when I feel stuff, like, it's not that I feel instant fear, it's like, well, I guess maybe it is fear. It's like, I don't
Mhm.
wanna be here, I don't wanna deal with anything, I'm a little
Mhm.
bitch, like, I'll never
No,
go
no,
ghost hunting
it's no, it's
type
so
of thing.
natural.
In that situation, so you live in New York, you know what the
Mhm.
subway's like, you know what
Yeah.
the public is like in general. Okay, if someone's messing with me, I know I can check them. I can punch them. I can be like,
Right.
fuck off, like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
With something like that, I can't hit you. I can't physically
Yes.
fight back. It's one of those things. It's how do you comprehend dealing with that? Because in that instance, you're like, no thanks. And but what if it was like, I don't fucking care that you said no thanks.
Yeah.
I'm still coming
No,
at
it's
you.
literally, it's one of the things I've talked about, and it's also why I feel like our time in New York is coming to a close because it's so feels so powerless being in these situations where, not only is New York City packed with humans and people, it's incredibly haunted because it's old. It's the oldest coast. It's where so much of our American history stems from is the East Coast. And so a lot of these ghosts are hundreds of years old. And then in the city, especially Manhattan, it's like we're stacked on top of each other. It's just consistent. And it's been, great, unfortunately, like fortunately for content. Like I'm like, hey, I got a new story every week, but also like for my energetic center, it's not great. And so much of it is because of what you said, right? It's like I'm not able to always control how I interact with them or how they leave me alone or how to protect my peace. But it's kind of the same with people, right? Like the amount of people that, you can say, "Hey, buddy, no, get the fuck away from me. I don't want to deal with you." And you hope that they're like, "Geez, okay." But sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're like, no, they'll keep pestering you just like humans. Well, I can either be scared all the time or I can just do my best to try to live and treat, you know, what I see in the afterlife as the same way I treat humans in this life and just being like, no, get the fuck out of here. Come on. Like trying to negotiate space and boundaries best as I can. But yeah, no, there definitely is a sense of, man, at the end of the day, there's only so much I can do. And that really is not awesome when you live in a place like that.
I would not be surprised in my almost 20 plus years living in that city if we've encountered someone that's possessed. Like
Oh, for
it, it's
sure.
it's crazy now that I think about it and talking to someone that can see spirits and actually still lives there. It makes you think back on all the situations that I've been in, especially in the subway where
Yes.
it's like someone's just wigging out and it's like, okay, oh, that person's crazy. But if you don't have that ability to see, it's like, was there
Well,
something
yeah.
plaguing them?
Yeah, and this blanket word crazy, right? This is something I think about a lot, especially with people who experience mental illness or who,
Right.
have like issues with drugs. It's like depending on how you use drugs, you can also connect with other spiritual things, like learning about the effects of fungus and mushrooms and hallucinogenics for cancer patients and how it helps them like in a healing process. And people talk about how they do ayahuasca and they like changes their whole life. And it's like just because someone who is impoverished or having an issue and like maybe they're using street drugs or like meth or crack or something, like we perceive that differently. It does not make sense. It's like
Right. It does.
like we can look down upon that, but it's like their brain is still escaping to a place that the same rich white people who do ayahuasca does, like their brains, and like they're all going on a journey. It doesn't necessarily mean they're crazy. Like they could be having a valid spiritual breakthrough or seeing something or connecting with something that other people around them aren't, the same way these people who are on a vacation to South America are. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Or it could potentially be an escape from what they're actually seeing when they're not in that drug induced
True.
state.
Yes, that's true as well. Good point. Yeah.
But my follow-up question specifically about demons. So I've openly said that I'm a very bad Catholic. I
Okay.
identify as Catholic.
Yeah.
But when you saw that type of creature, what are your thoughts on the demonic and how does that mesh with whatever personal beliefs that you have? Because I know there's some people
Yeah.
that there are no such thing as demons. There's only like
Mhm.
earth spirits and elementals and the great spirit type of stuff. So what are your thoughts on
Honestly, I think it's funny. It was so hard to reckon with, because it was so unlike anything that I had seen, and because this happened in, like I said, like February or end of February, early March. That's part of why I did this demonology series, because I literally needed to parse through and sort through my own beliefs and kind of figure out why that was what it was. And ultimately, I don't have a lot of answers, but I did have a lot of fun because the episode where that the story is in, for if you want to listen or your listeners, I talked with my friend Kevin. He's from San Francisco, and he's just like really smart, and he looks at everything like he's not woo woo. I just tried to have a very analytical chat about demons from the history of the beginning of time and how so much of it has to do with societal expectations, right? And having something to blame in many
100%.
cultures.
Of course.
If your baby dies in childbirth, well, that's this demon's fault because they
Right.
always do that. When so much of it was just like bacteria, or like health
Right.
issues or things that we didn't know how to explain, we would assign a certain demon to it. So, from this sort of analytical historical context of demons, that helped me to dive into this in a way that felt safe and not as taboo again, because even the very religious background that I have made it feel very scary to dive into this deeper. How do we do this in a way that feels fun and not intimidating and intellectual, and like we're just doing it for educational purposes as opposed to taunting any negative energies, right? So I
Right.
think that was helpful to do. um and ultimately, at the end of the day, I think I'm still trying to figure it out, because the most recent episode that just came out, Isaac from Hidden in the Shadows podcast, he claims to be a demon like hunter. And, he basically explained a lot of how demons work and these hierarchies and what they look like before I told him my story. And he almost down to a T explained these markings in their skin. And that's when I was like, holy shit, like he's telling me what I saw and I haven't told anyone. So, like, there is validity to this in some ways, right?
Right.
So, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It's, as someone who doesn't follow any, specific like evangelical or, puritanical like religion, like, I don't know how to reckon with it still. But all I know is I don't want that in my life. And if there is sort of any truth to this hierarchy of angels and demons and how they rank and all this and yappa dabba da, it's like, I don't
Right.
know. I don't know. I guess that's my answer is I don't know,
And
but
that's
it
a
was really scary.
yeah, that's a fair answer, and I love the fact that you actually had an analytical conversation from a historical perspective because me being like I went to school for history, I wanted to be a history professor and I love
Cool.
classical mythology. I love mythology in general. And
Mhm.
like you said, like, oh, if your baby died, it's because of this. If
Right.
there was a massive storm at sea, it's like, oh, we pissed off Poseidon somehow.
Right. Yes,
It was a
exactly.
way to explain like why certain things happen,
Yeah.
which people still do, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
even though like we have the
We
science
have the
to
science.
explain
Yeah.
it, you know, apparently the earth is fucking flat to some people, but
Yeah.
you know what? I'm not gonna cut that out because you flat earthers are fucking nuts.
Yeah,
But
get out of here.
the gentleman that you recently interviewed, he explains it and he describes it similar to what you saw. It makes me start to question, like, okay, about the afterlife, is the Judeo-Christian explanation of the other side is that the answer? Because you have other
No.
religions that say it's kind of like the ancient Greeks, it was just Hades,
Mhm.
Tartarus, Elysium.
Mhm.
With Catholicism, you have heaven, purgatory, and you have the circles of hell.
Right.
But when you start mixing in Judeo Christian demons,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then you go to the Middle East and you have jinn,
Yes.
you
Mhm.
go to Japan and you have tengu, you have
Mhm.
yokai.
And Native American spirits and cultures as well, yeah.
I'm not asking you that this is kind of like just an open ended question, not just like directed to pigeonhole you or anything like that.
Yeah.
It makes me ask, like, what the fuck is real? Or is it just all one continuity that there's
Honestly, yeah, I mean, if I can, I honestly wanna say, like, all of it is valid, all of it is real, especially thinking of, like, the idea of a tulpa, do you know what that is?
you stole that
Yeah.
right from my mouth.
Did I
I was
steal your
about to
point?
yes, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
like, is it a Tulpa thing?
Right. It's like we give so much energy and thought and speculation to so many of these ideas for hundreds of thousands of years. Maybe all of it is true because of the intention and thought and hope and desperation. Like, I still know people, like my friends' parents, who are so desperate to get into heaven and they're so scared that their children are going to go to hell because they don't follow these practices anymore. And it's like they live, eat, sleep, breathe, and pray to this god and this realm that they are so sure is there. A lot of us laugh it off. I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily believe in that. I don't necessarily want that to be true because again, I don't follow that religion, but that also discounts or disproves or contradicts a lot of other very valid religions. So it's just like I just feel like it's all real, Like I don't know, who's to say?
Right, because my uncle, he worked for, I think NBC. They had a studio or something in Manhattan, and he worked there for like 20
Cool.
something years.
Yeah.
And he had this one coworker who was, I think he was like a Puerto Rican guy, and he was Catholic his entire life.
Uh-huh.
And then he had this accident. I guess it was one of those situations where the guy died and came back.
Oh
And
shit, yeah.
and you're talking about a guy that he said he was a devout Catholic his entire life.
Yeah.
And when he quote unquote passed away, he saw the Hindu god Ganesh, the one with the
Whoa.
elephant head. And then he
Yeah.
switched to Hinduism after that
Oh,
incident.
wow.
I am a sucker for watching these shows. They're all on Tubi now. People that die and they come back, and some people report seeing the same things, like they see demons and stuff like that. Then some
Hmm.
people see their family members. Then some people see different types of gods. Some people see Jesus. So I wonder if that's the universe's way of like help pacifying you as your soul or spirit moves along to the other
Yes.
plane, to something you're more
Hmm.
comfortable with. I don't think anybody would
Yes.
be comfortable with demons, but
Let me get real crazy with this idea for a second. I recently learned that the reason that your life flashes before your eyes and a near death experience, or like right before you die, is because your physical body is trying so hard to save itself and to try to correct the issue or whatever's happening, that it replays every memory you've ever had that is like a high stress or a high emotional or traumatic event, to try to like find the answer to save you in this moment, you know?
right.
So when you think about that, people who have these near death experiences or die and come back and then they talk about what they've seen, which this sounds very crazy coming from me because I'm usually Miss Woo Woo, but I'm like, what if scientifically our brain is releasing all of these chemicals and endorphins and dopamine and DMT and serotonin, like all of the crazy life-saving chemicals at once, that like it's almost like this like trip or this like high that we're experiencing, and like what we see is like our ultimate emotional culmination of what we think almost that we deserve, or that like, so it's like people who do see
Right.
demons, like maybe they had some skeletons in their closet, or people who see their family, like any, or like God or Ganesh or whatever. It's like anything that your brain is pulling from to try to give you comfort in that moment. Anyway.
Right, right, definitely. And because you always hear like stories of people on their deathbed where they're either really happy or they're like terrified and they're like screaming at a corner, "Don't let them take
Yes.
me," type of story. And it's like
Yes.
their family's looking in the corner, there's nothing there, but they're seeing
I
something. It's
know.
like, and then they like scream and then they die. And it's just
Well, and talking with hospice nurses, I saw this great video yesterday of this woman who's been a hospice nurse for a long time. And she was like, did you know it's in 80% of the textbooks that there is a huge portion on spirits and how your patients will see spirits and like will see ghosts? And like, there's no question about it. Like, they are seeing loved ones who have passed on, they come back to visit them. Like, it is very well known in the hospice community. It's not, well, maybe it's a hallucination, because this nurse was like, I've been working in the medical field a long time. Like, I know what a hallucination looks. No,
right.
we all just agree this is what happens.
Yeah, and my analytical side, channeling my co-host because he's not here, because he's like our in-house skeptic. She said it's not a hallucination, but maybe it is as a result of all the chemicals being released while your body's
Hmm.
going through that process of shutting down in preparation to dying. But who knows at that point?
Yeah.
It's scary and really interesting to talk about. I love talking about all this morbid shit.
Yes, I do
Eh,
too. I actually really do. I have one more like little morbid thing that it sounds so dark, but it was so
Go
funny.
for
I
it.
was I was recently, like I said, I was camping. I was in Yosemite National Park, and we were in this big meadow under the stars, and I was like looking at all the stars, and like I kept trying to like be like, am I gonna have some spiritual or woo woo thing? And I wasn't like drunk or high or anything. Like I was just present and sober, and I just was like, what am I gonna get out of this? Am I gonna get anything deeper? And as I watched the stars, I heard this like voice just say, death will be sweet and easy. Like, you don't need to be afraid, which sounds really fucked up. But like, I was like, oh, that's really nice to know, actually. Like, death is sweet and easy. It's not hard. You know what I mean? I think so much of us fear death, but I think dying might, like the actual moment that we like die, depending on how, obviously, like I think it might be one of the easiest things that we do?
And I think you hit the nail on the head there, depending on how you die.
Yeah.
Because in a war
Yeah.
zone, I don't think that's sweet and easy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
No, no, not, yeah. Yeah. Gosh.
I do have a couple of other questions here for you. Have you ever been to like Gettysburg or one of the Civil War battlefields before, or have you ever considered going?
I've not, no, I have not been to Gettysburg, no, or the Civil War battlefields. I think I've heard so many of the most haunted and like scary horror stories I've ever heard come from there. And It's funny, I've been getting this question a bit with, like, more famous haunted places, and for me, I'm like, "No, like, it's already so much in, like, normal life." I just feel like that would be a lot for me. So, unless I hate to be this brutally honest, but I'm like, unless I was, like, being paid to do it, I don't really wanna do it. You know what I mean?
Right. No, that's fair and that's understandable because I've been to quite a number of battlefields, but like the major ones, I've been to Gettysburg multiple times and I've been to
Wow.
Antietam. And
Yeah.
Antietam, walking through Bloody Lane in the middle of the
Mm,
day, it's like, ugh, it just feels
crazy.
so uncomfortable. Same
Yeah.
with Gettysburg. I made the dumb decision to go to parts of the battlefield at night, and which you're not
Oof.
supposed to do.
Right.
But me and my friends did it anyway. Like, got out the car, stood there, felt like people were looking at me. I was like, "Fuck it, I'm
Ooh.
going back in."
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's and that's what I always hear. It's like that immediate sense of like, "Oh, we're not alone and it's not good," you know?
my last question for you today. What are your thoughts on the afterlife in general? Because you see these spirits are lingering around. You tell them, like that one guy, you're like, okay, dude, you got to fuck off, go to the light, get
Yeah.
out of here.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
like, what do you personally think happens? And why do you think the spirits stick around?
You know, oh my gosh, that's such a hard one. I think it's so subjective again based on so many like your personal beliefs and what you experience, but me, Courtney, what I think is that anything and everything is possible. I think a lot of the spirits that I see regularly are people who are stuck or trapped, whether that be by their own guilt, misfortune, trauma, emotional dissonance, having a violent passing, an unexpected passing, a traumatic passing. I think those are the things that keep spirits on this earthly plane, especially when it's confusion of, can you imagine just walking and then you get hit by a bus and then you're dead? Like there's no way to process that. So I feel like spirits who die very quickly and traumatically get stuck because death and dying is something that takes, time and energy to process, especially as the one who's dying. So that's what I think about the spirits that I see regularly. When it comes to the actual like afterlife or what's after this of a heaven or a hell or a place, I don't know. I think I'm more into the idea of like the universe. I don't subscribe to Christianity and I don't think there's a heaven or a hell. I think I'm through the podcast, been becoming a lot bigger on reincarnation, especially knowing and seeing all of the interviews with children who are like, "Yeah, I used to be a farmer and now I'm here now," and like
Right.
having personal like past life experiences and being like validated through like photography or other things and being like, "Whoa, that's something that I've seen before." Whatever, like having this sense of deja vu or but yeah, I think karma, people who are bad, people who make bad decisions, I think their soul line ends, or I think that it, continues on to try to learn again in their next life. But yeah, I like to think too that spirits or souls that are quote unquote done, they can just kind of enjoy the universe in whatever form that is, whether it's reincarnation or, just like a traveling orb of light, or,
Right.
like
Right.
I really don't know, but I really hope that it's good, and I hope that it's not nothing. And from what I've seen, I don't think that it's nothing, that's for sure. And as far as when it comes to like those weird, gremlin-y, darker, elemental and demonic spirits, I don't know, man. I just know that they're here and I don't know why. I think that maybe it's just nature's way and the universe's way of trying to keep a balance to everything because there is a balance to everything.
There's always a
So I
yin and a
guess
yang.
yeah, yeah, I guess that's my best answer I can come up with at this time.
Courtney, thank you so much for coming on to today's
Yeah.
show. Again, I want to apologize for my co host not being here. He was really excited to talk to you as well. If you're willing, we'd love to have you back on for a second episode. That would be totally awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'd love to come back, and I can't wait to have you guys on Jaunty Haunts as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to come on and share my stories with you. And maybe I could tell you where the places are and you could just walk by and see what's there.
Oh my
Who knows?
gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I need to like bring a friend, but yeah.
Right. why don't you tell the listeners where they could find Jaunty Haunts and where they can reach you if they would like to get a hold of
Yes, amazing. Thank you so much. You can find me on all platforms at Jaunty Haunts. I'm on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, everything. Instagram is Jaunty Haunts Pod. That's Jaunty Haunts Pod. YouTube is Jaunty Haunts Podcast. TikTok is Jaunty Haunts Podcast. That's JAUNTYHAUNTS. And you can always email me or reach out with a story at jauntyhaunts@gmail.com.
it. Go give her podcast a listen. If you have any creepy stories that you like to share with her, shoot her an email, get on the show. She's just like us. We're just trying to create a platform where people don't feel crazy for having these experiences. And at the same time, it's very therapeutic. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for tuning into today's episode of The Wandering Road. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, and most podcast platforms. Be sure to subscribe and share. Also, don't forget to give a follow on Instagram at TW Road Podcast and follow my TikTok at TWR Podcast. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.